He had a calendar on his wall just above the kitchen table where he ate alone, but the numbers didn't seem to change anymore. They just were. Every day was a quiet echo of the one before, a vast, empty space stretching out where 50 years of busy had used to be. Arthur pushed his spectacles up his nose, a nervous habit he'd never quite lost even now when there was nobody around to be nervous of. Just the ticking clock, the dust motes dancing in the sunbeams, and the profound, heavy silence of a life, suddenly emptied. Retirement. The word itself felt like a final chapter, a putting away. For decades, Arthur had been a quiet cog in a large machine, an accountant who found comfort in columns of numbers, in order and precision. His days were scheduled, his tasks clear. Now the mornings stretched endlessly. He'd make his tea, read the paper cover to cover, sometimes twice, then drift through the rooms of his house, a house that felt too big, too quiet. His oldest hobby, stamp collecting, sat neglected in the study, albums filled with the colorful histories of faraway lands now just gathering dust, much like he felt he was doing. He'd trace the faded edges of a rare penny black with a fingertip, remembering the quiet joy it used to bring. But the joy felt distant now, like the stamps themselves. He saw neighbors sometimes, hurrying to work, walking dogs, living lives that still had momentum. He'd offer a small, hesitant wave from his porch, but often they were already past. He felt like a ghost in his own life, a piece of furniture nobody really noticed anymore. The world outside his window kept spinning, vibrant and loud, while his own world had simply stopped. One blustery Tuesday, a gust of wind caught Mrs. Gable's hat right off her head as she fumbled with shopping bags by her car. It tumbled down the street like a rogue tumbleweed. Without thinking, Arthur was off his porch, his legs stiff but carrying him faster than they had moved in months. He chased the hat, catching it just before it blew into the busy road. He returned it to Mrs. Gable, a little breathless. She was younger, a busy working mother he'd only ever nodded to before. Her face broke into a genuine, grateful smile. "Oh, Arthur, thank you. That hat is my lucky charm," she exclaimed, clutching it. "You're a lifesaver." It was a small thing, a hat. But that smile, that sincere thank you, that acknowledgement, it was a spark. It didn't erase the loneliness, not instantly, but it was a tiny crack in the wall of isolation he'd built around himself. The next day, Arthur found himself walking a little further than usual. He passed the local park. It looked a bit neglected, a few benches wobbly, litter near the bins. He pushed his glasses up. An idea, small and tentative, formed. He went home, found his old toolbox, and the following morning he was back at the park. He started simply tightening the bolts on a bench. Then he picked up some litter. He worked slowly, methodically, much like he used to organize numbers. People walked by, some didn't notice. Some gave him curious looks. But a few offered a nod, a quiet morning. The park keeper, a young man named Ben, came over. Instead of asking what Arthur was doing, he just said, "Looks better already, Arthur, thanks." That small encouragement was another spark. Arthur started going to the park regularly. He wasn't trying to take over, just help. He trimmed overgrown bushes near the path, reported a broken swing, and even started weeding a neglected flower bed. He didn't talk much, just worked quietly, his glasses perpetually needing a push up his nose. Soon, other people using the park began talking to him. Parents thanked him for making the playground tidier. Older folks sitting on the benches he'd fixed offered conversation. He learned about their lives, their worries, their small joys. He wasn't just the quiet man on Elm Street anymore. He was Arthur, the man who helps with the park. His days weren't empty now. They had rhythm. Park work in the morning, a quiet lunch, and then perhaps sorting through a box of old donated books at the local library, a place that suddenly felt less intimidating and more welcoming. He even found himself sharing stories about countries from his stamp collection with children during library story time, connecting his old, quiet passion with his new, bustling reality. The silence in Arthur's house hadn't vanished entirely, but it no longer felt empty. It felt peaceful. His stamp albums were still there, but now they were shared sometimes, bringing smiles to young faces. He still ate meals alone, but now he had stories to replay in his mind. Mrs. Gable's thank you, Ben's nod of appreciation, the laughter of children playing on a swing he knew was safe because he'd checked the chain. Arthur pushed his glasses up, a faint smile on his face. He was walking through the park he helped care for on his way to the library. A little girl waved furiously from a bench. "Hi, Mr. Arthur," she called out. Mr. Arthur. Not just Arthur. Mr. Arthur. He waved back, a full, genuine wave this time. He wasn't just passing the time anymore. He was part of it. He was a thread in the vibrant tapestry of his community, woven in with kindness and quiet effort. The loneliness hadn't disappeared like magic, but it had been pushed aside by something stronger, something warmer. Connection. It makes you think, doesn't it? How a simple act, a hat returned, a bench repaired, a story shared, can turn the quiet corners of life into places where joy and purpose bloom unexpectedly. Sometimes, the greatest treasures aren't found in dusty albums, but right outside our front door, waiting for us to simply step out and be present.